Hi, everybody. Welcome to Conversations with Calvin, We the Species. Actually, chronologically, it's September 11th today, and kind of appropriately, I'm interviewing Mary McCorvey, who is a Gulf War veteran, among other things. And we've just been talking, and I've been doing these interviews now, my sixth year, and I've done around 400 people all over the world. And actually, it was kind of funny. Mary and I just talked for a whole bunch before we went on air here. And actually, I'm even putting on my on air. Does it work? There it is. This is official. We're on air. Um, I got that for my birthday. Um, I've been doing this so long, but it was I told Mary there was a from Saturday Night Live. One of the maybe it was Gilda Radner used to say I'm verklempt, which means I can't speak right. I'm all stuffed up here with emotion, with things that are flying through my mind, because quite frankly, I've never kind of met somebody like you, Mary, with the kind of background you have. And I'll just, part of my monologue here, just kind of run through things. At 17, you're implicated in a murder. At 35, you suffered seizures because and cognitive decline because of the Gulf War. You were in Iraq and, sarin gas. And you experience all that, and then later down the road, you get diagnosed with terminal pulmonary fibrosis, which you beat. And you had 2 years to live. You survived all that, and you've written what I think is one of the most amazing books, Experience Over Expectation, which I'm showing. It's available on Amazon Kindle, and that's on my thing to get. And you introduce AI, which you spell Eheye, which I think is brilliant. And we're going to talk a lot about this because it's so important, your journey. And your work has been featured. Uh, this is a long, I feel like Jimmy Fallon. I'm reading the notes of my guest. You've been featured on CBS News, NBC Today, Forbes, Cheddar, Psychology Today. I love that magazine, by the way. I've been reading that since the 60s, 70. You're here. We're going to talk about primarily experience over expectation and other stuff. You are live from Philadelphia, and I truly am honored that we got together and you're here. So, how about if you do a little bit of a background on your own terms, your own words, and then we'll jump in to some interview stuff. Take it away, Mary.
Sure. Thank you. And thank you, Calvin, so much for having me here today. It's really an honor to be on your program, and I'm delighted to spend some time with you and your audience. It's awesome.
Perfect.
So, I wrote Experience Over Expectation because I started out writing a memoir because I have lived a very nonlinear life. So the subtitle of the book is Let Go of the Plan and Live on Your Terms. And what I mean by that is not that you should never plan for anything, but the grand plan that we all grow up with. The grand plan is you grow up, you go to college, you get a degree, you get a career, you marry well, you have kids, you have more career, and then you retire, and heaven knows what happens after that. That's the grand plan. And I never followed that plan. And I don't believe you followed that plan either. And what happens is as we're going through the process of these society's cultural pressures on us to meet those wickets at those times in our lives, there are expectations that come along with those, and they can be very, very burdensome. the expectations. And so, what I do in this book is I talk about situations that I've been in, certainly some of those that you mentioned previously. And I turned to AI and I said, okay, now you told me, Calvin, that you work with AI. So you know that there's no magic bullet here. There's no, put a quarter in there and you get whatever you want. It's not that at all. So I worked with 5 different AI platforms, and that's why Eheye is an amalgam of those 5 different platforms.
Ah,
That's why we have a character called AI,
yeah.
right? So I put my stories into those platforms with different prompts because each one of them has different strengths, as you well know. They're trained differently to come out with different results. And so I have my story, and that is compared to thousands and thousands of other people who had like kinds of experiences. And then and it analyzed what I did based on the comparison of those thousands and thousands of cases. So that's what the book is about.
Okay. Fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. And it's really unique. I don't know if there's anything ever been done like this. You know, your personal journey and AI's kind of take on that. It's such and it's we're at the very precipice, the forefront of a whole new world. And
Yes, we are.
we really are. And beyond, you can bring Arthur Clarke back to do a whole nother futuristic thing, but you are at the precipice as a as a journalist in expressing this stuff with experience over expectation. And it's it's a wow. Question: why would you want your life uh, analyzed uh, by artificial intelligence, which I think is really fascinating also. But why would you want to do that?
Well, it came up by accident, really, Calvin, because as I was writing my memoir, I would refer to AI, generally Chat GPT-5, and I would say I was looking for a reference or resource material or something like that. That's what you go to chat for, right? And then one day I said, you know what? I wonder if I put my story in here, what would happen, what it would do, right? Just for grins and giggles, okay? And that action that I took, because I knew there's nothing that could happen for it, right? I would just see the outcome and I could do with it what I wanted or didn't want, right? So it was just an experiment of sorts. And what happened was that it changed the trajectory of the book and the entire structure of the book and the way that, in many respects, the way I look at AI. And obviously it's only a tool. That's what it is.
Cool.
It's not something that comes inside of you or you have a relationship with or something like that. It is strictly a tool. It's a machine learning tool. So what happened was from there, I went into the land of prompts. So it took me about 4,000 prompts and on 5 different platforms to get to the results that I was looking for. And the
Wow.
results I was looking for is that comparison of my story against thousands of others, but importantly, the outcome of having tools and suggestions that the reader may have to apply to their own lives.
Okay. You just said a fascinating word, um, prompts. And as I was plunging into AI a year ago, I discovered, I personally, that there's a whole new career out there called prompt engineer.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, yeah, and
Yes,
yeah, and you don't realize that you got to ask AI. If you don't ask AI, you have to know what you're asking and what you want to get out. It's an art.
it is very much
An
an
art.
art form within a science.
Correct.
Hmm.
And in my own little microcosmic world, as I'm a published author myself with Tortoise, I wanted I said I wonder if AI can make some promo stuff for me. So I stuck my whole novel into AI, and then I asked it chapter one, pick out like seven or eight really important quotable sentences, and it did.
Right.
And then I said, design me a meme. I want to use it on Facebook, and it did, and it was oh wow, this is. I mean, it drew a whole and then I was so happy, I was thrilled, and I used it. And then I don't know, maybe AI got wise because a week later I did it for chapter two, and AI said we can't do it. It violates our rules and our standards. And we can't do that. And then I said to myself, um, on my own, I asked AI, do the same thing, but I want to use it on my personal website. So instead of saying Facebook, I said my personal
Oh,
website and
okay.
spit out everything I wanted. So you change the wording around.
You do. You really do.
Yeah, but you did 4,000 prompts. My goodness.
Oh, it was an adventure.
Wow. That's another, Mary, that's a book in itself. Just how you made this, how you made experience of expectations, all the work and everything you did. It's what a tutorial that is. Anyway, wow. Um, what would you let's say I wanted to do what you did. What would you tell me or other people if they want to do the same thing? The 4,000 prompts and this whole undertaking. What would you tell us?
Well, um, the first thing that I would say is you and I are talking about the creative process. So there are nearly limitless ways to use AI, but you and I are talking within the context of creating something, right? So you really have to know what you're looking for. And you don't have to know it going in. It can evolve over the course of the creative process, but you have to have within your mind, this is what I want to get out of this. Like what you were saying was, I want some promotional materials for my website. Okay, that's a place to start. And then you go in and you ask and you start then to refine and hone down until you finally get what you're looking for. So it's knowing what you want to the extent you can and really engaging all of the different tools that are available. So, understand that like you use four different platforms, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Hmm. And you use them for different purposes
correct.
because they're all trained differently. They're trained differently. So, for example, I used Perplexity when I was looking for really deep research across, you know, hundreds and hundreds of cases of literature, right? Over thousands of cases of situations. And what it came back to me was with a really textbook kind of response. And I said, okay, now I know the depth is there. Now what I need literature. I need it written in a way that is amenable, is accessible to someone who's not in a classroom, right? And so chose sonnet. Sonnet helps, you know, world, world, you know, rough out the rough edges,
Okay.
fine out the rough edges, and I used deep seek when perplexity didn't go as deep as I was looking for.
Okay.
And then I used ChatGPT for continuity of voice for the AI character.
Okay. By the way, I'm taking notes. I may be one of the few interviewers on the planet that while I'm interviewing someone, I'm actually taking notes, which is testament to you. Uh, so I'm actually, if you see me writing, it's because I'm taking notes, just like I'm listening to you. Yeah, I've seen perplexity. We have different, and I use ChatGPT too, and I've seen perplexity. Uh, um,
Well, you as a teacher, as a university teacher, um, what I was looking for was I was looking for the depth of information without the the cumbersome textbook
okay.
kind of writing, right? So what I did do was I have probably in the book about 30 pages of citations.
Ah,
So from the AI references that are in my book, they're all cited so that if someone wants to go, if they see something within a chapter that they're interested in knowing more about, they have the reference right there.
okay.
You
Okay.
don't get that in many memoirs.
No, no, not at all. Wow. Um, that 4,000 prompts keeps bouncing around between my two earlobes, and I'm listening to that. Uh, Overall, what was the most challenging part of the whole process that you went through in writing experience over expectation?
Well, the as a writer, you will relate to this. And I've talked with other writers who have used AI, and that is really maintaining the human voice. Okay, what is my voice in this? So that was the most challenging part, was making sure that I didn't lose my voice in this whole process. Because it's one thing, I've done a number of projects where you say, you go in and you're looking for a particular thing like what you described, and then it's over with. I mean, this was on and on and on. So it it was, like I say, quite an adventure.
Quite an adventure. Wow. Slightly off topic. Uh, you know, um, you always think AI is it's for the Gen Zs and it's their world, but I'm an octogenarian, and I love it. I don't, there used to be a commercial on TV, don't leave home without it. I don't know, maybe it was the American Express card or something. I don't leave home without checking AI. Um, your emotions, your feelings on AI, since you plunged so deeply into it, you have a lot of nice things to say about it. Do you worry about AI at all?
Of course,
Of course,
of course.
yeah,
So, right now in 2025, we're at a point where it is a very useful tool for humans. Okay, but the way that it can be trained, it can be used for nefarious purposes,
yeah,
and it can train itself.
Yeah.
So, we do have to acknowledge that those risks exist. And there's absolutely the possibility that it could have a huge negative impact on the human species.
Yeah. Correct. And if people don't grasp what you're saying, go watch the movie 2001, A Space Odyssey, and you'll see AI, uh, what AI can do trying to take over the spaceship. Um,
Right.
when I was beginning my journalism career, I got fascinated with this group called Singularity. I don't
Absolutely
know.
familiar.
Yeah. So, and I started to really discover Ray Kurzweil. And a lot of people don't know who he is, but actually half the synthesizers and piano thing, and he invented some of the most well-used synthesizers. I don't know, I think he has 100 PhDs. He's a genius, and he started this
Wow.
university called Singularity, and part of that university is to examine the day. He was predicting, it might have been 2030, predicting when man and machine merge.
Hmm.
And so when I first became a journalist, Ray Kurzweil and Singularity, they had a 3-day conference up at Harvard, and I was so excited because I can go to Harvard. However, it was not in my budget. It was way too much. And then a few years later, they had Singularity here in New York, and I had just become a journalist, and I had my press pass. So I really wanted to go. He brought in like 50 speakers from all over the world. And a lot of and of course, I whipped out my press pass and I went for free. And boy, I love being a journalist. This is great. So I went back and forth for 3 days. But, they were dealing with topics when man and machine merge. And they had I guess it was Ken Jennings, the guy who won all that money
Hmm.
on TV in Jeopardy. Uh,
Right.
and at that point, they were getting he was going to take on Watson, IBM's computer. Uh,
Right.
so he was talking about preparing, and he was saying how he was shaving and looking in the mirror and saying, "I'm going out now to fight for humanity." And he was going to take on IBM's computer. I think he lost. So be it. But anyway, I wanted to ask you that, Mary, because you're so entrenched and you experience that, and I worry about it. I worry about it too because nobody can. Uh, anyway, moving on. I'm just want to keep talking and talking about all this. Um, in general, uh, what kind of reactions have you gotten from people with experience over expectation?
Well, it's been mixed.
Hmm.
So writers have the most difficult time with it because what I've chosen to do is I've chosen to bring AI into a major aspect of a creative project. And some writers say, well, you didn't really write the book. And I'm like, well, 4,000 prompts later, yeah, I did. You know, you if you do not if if you do not own what you write, and I don't mean ownership of the intellectual property, of course you have that, but I mean own it from a creator's perspective, then no, you don't write anything. You pay somebody to write it, right? There's such things as ghostwriters. There's such things as dictionaries. They're all tools, right? And that's what AI is. And
Yeah.
like I said, my biggest challenge was really to keep that human voice. But writers are very snobbish about it.
Uh-huh.
Um, uh, Other people are skeptical because they have the questions like, aren't you concerned about putting your personal information into AI? And
That was my next
and
question, by the way, written down here. Did you ever worry about giving it too much information?
no,
No.
I never did.
Okay.
I never did. And the reason why is that, I provided the information that I was going to put into the public domain anyway.
Okay.
I was I was writing a memoir. So I am choosing to share with the world the stories that I choose to share. And the other thing to remember, and as you well know, Calvin, AI is not one big vat of information, right? It's very segmented. And I was actually very pleased to be able to become part of the body of work that someone else might be looking at some point.
Yeah. You know what? You're a pioneer, by the way. I don't know if anybody ever said that. Just from the time I've been. Well, you are a pioneer, and hey, listen, your whole life is been you've been a pioneer. Being a Gulf War veteran like that and surviving all that stuff, you're a pioneer. Uh,
Well, thank you. I
right.
appreciate that.
Yeah, and actually, the division of you sitting in a Conestoga wagon heading west, sitting next to Davy Crockett kind of thing. Well, that's you're a pioneer woman, and truly. And anyway, I want to go off topic. Take a deep breath.
Okay.
Take a deep breath, and
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. I'm
Okay,
ready.
go ahead, go hydrate a little bit. Uh, so
Mm.
a couple of off-topic things, and then we'll get back to work. Um, as I forewarned you, uh, maybe that's the wrong word. As I told you, I have some favorite. One of my favorite journalists was Barbara Walters, and sometimes and I studied her extensively, and so she always often asked this question, and I like it. You don't even have to answer it. There's no rules here. But anyway, here's the first question. Excluding family or friends, somebody living or dead you'd like to spend a day with.
Someone I'd like to spend the day with. I would like to spend the day with Socrates. Yeah. Because that way I would get to time travel in addition to,
Brilliant.
yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah, it's interesting. A few months ago, I interviewed a gentleman who wrote a book about a guy living in Greece. It made me think of Socrates, and he was living in Greece, and he woke up the following morning, when he woke up and he was back. And he was living in modern day Greece, and the following morning he woke up, he was back in those early times, and he found Pythagoras, the guy who made that theorem,
Hmm.
triangle thing, and he had to help Pythagoras help him get back to modern day, and that was interesting. It
Yeah, I
reminded,
bet it was.
yeah, it reminded me of that. Um, do you have some favorite movies?
Oh, favorite movies. I It would take me a while to come up with a favorite movie
Okay, well,
because I
that's
love I
sure.
love so many.
Yeah, just a couple that are
Um,
floating around.
oh sure. There's chick flicks like, You've Got Mail.
Sure.
There's that goes back a ways. I appreciate, by the way, that you have the same color of hair that I do.
I mean, this,
That's correct.
yeah,
You and I have the same color of hair.
yeah, and that's nice. Listen, I always like to find commonalities. I didn't always have this. This is relatively new, and it has nothing to do with the fact that all of a sudden I wake up one day and I'm 80, 70, 80 years old. For 30 or 40 years, I used to tongue in cheek it that I developed an allergy to the color gray. And when I was like 30, 35, and I couldn't even cross a bridge because the bridges were painted in gray. So I just stayed in my little house here in New Jersey. I mean, I'm making all this crazy stuff up. So my wife got out a box of Clairol, and I became, for sure, I was a solid brown-haired guy right up until the pandemic.
Hmm.
And my wife said, "You know what, Calvin? It's time. Nobody's going to see you for 2 years. Why don't you just let it. Uh,
Well, it flatters you.
thank you.
So,
So I let it. I let it, and I needed the right venue because I'm a journalist. I'm visible, and so if the pandemic didn't come along, I was going to actually tell people I was actually going to go uh, to Mount Sinai in the Middle East. This is what I was gonna do because I'm kind of crazy. You don't know that, but I'm a little crazy. So I was gonna go to Mount Sinai. I was gonna climb that mountain that Charlton Heston climbed in the movie, you know,
right.
and I was gonna find that burning bush, and I was gonna take off my brown hair and let the burning bush see my brown hair, and I would spend a day up there, and then I would turn white, and that's what I would tell everybody when I got back to Jersey. I climbed Mount Sinai. I saw the burning bush. My hair turned white. I don't know how
You
to
know,
do.
I had no idea that there was really quite a story behind that.
Yeah, well, you started it,
I
Mary.
did start it. I
You
did
did
start
start it,
it.
and I finished it. Uh, but fortunately, I didn't have to do all that. I just let it just go natural, and it's actually kind of nice. And I have this Einstein motif. He's a hero of mine,
Yeah.
and I used to channel him spiritually, and I think he helped my writing. But I wanted to look like Einstein. So, okay, we can go back. Yeah.
So
Oh,
just
yes, you have to tell
just
me,
just two more mu movies. And I do tend to go back in time.
please.
Um, one is The African Queen
Oh, yeah.
with Humphrey Bogart, and the other one is North by Northwest.
Oh, do I love that?
Yeah.
I love,
So,
love,
yeah. So
love.
I do really like adventures.
Yep. I
Yeah.
love, 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 love North by Northwest. I have a copy up there. And every few months I put on, I mean, I love Cary Grant and I love Eva Marie Saint, and she's still around.
Hmm.
She's over 100. She's still around, and she's a Jersey girl, actually. Just a marvelous, 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 marvelous movie. Uh, but there's one scene that upsets me. I don't know if I should be telling you this. The, I don't want to ruin it for you. In the scene when they're at the monument, and they're in this big cafeteria, and they were going to stage the shooting, and she was going to shoot Cary Grant, Eva Marie Saint, and she pulls out her gun, and actually in the background you see a little boy sitting at a table eating, and he about 3 or 4 or 5 seconds before the shot goes off, you see him putting his hands to his ears,
Oh,
and it's I mean it's there. It's there.
wow.
In other words, he puts his hands up here, and then 5 seconds later, Eva Marie Saint shoots, and so be it. But otherwise, it's just a marvelous, oh, marvelous movie. I've been watching this, um, the Americanization.
Emily.
Uh, uh,
Yeah.
yeah, I've watched it a couple times. I marvel at this, and reading about James Garner and Julie Andrews, they both said that movie was their favorite movie, having done. They both
Wow.
loved doing that movie. It was their favorite movie, and I just and you don't realize it, but it's such a powerful uh, anti-war movie. But I just get a kick out of it. Just marvelous movie. Anyway, um, moving on. Um, tell us the most personal story that you share an experience over expectation,
Oh, in the book?
or in general. I
Um,
mean, or in general, you're forthrighteous and you share things.
well, um, let's see. Probably, probably taking a moonshot. And that's what they talk about with singularity. They talk about having moonshots. Well, I took a literal moonshot. And so my nonlinear life, I have created 7 different companies.
Wow,
And one of them I created specifically to work with young people, and to get them to create something that would land on the moon. And so everything was in place. I had the young people, I had my team, I had sponsors paying for it. I had a rocket, I had a SpaceX rocket. I had a lander that was going to land on the moon,
wow,
Intuitive Machines out of Houston. And everything was all gelled, and I announced it. And I said, this is what we're going to do. And we're going to end up on the moon. We're going to land on the moon. Here's the date, Calvin, October of 2021.
wow, wow.
Well, we know what happened in 2020.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Wow,
yeah. The space industry shut down, business industry shut down, and I had to shut down. And it was the most painful
mm,
business decision that I've ever made because I really, really wanted these young people to have the experience of having their work land on the moon, and I couldn't make it happen. I made a lot of other things happen, but
mm,
I couldn't make that happen. So I took a literal moonshot. Yep.
wow. Powerful. I mean, that is powerful. Um, um, you you talk about many you there's many decades of life that you're dealing with. I do lots of stuff with millennials, Gen Zs. What would somebody from their 30s, for example, take away from the book?
Oh, they would take away, I believe, I work actually with a Gen Z person.
Okay.
And I find it, I'm a baby boomer, and I find it fascinating to work with a Gen Z person. It's a completely different mindset. It's a completely different worldview, and obviously a very different experience set. You can't expect them to have, the level of the depth of experience that years bring, right? But in terms of what Gen Z would take away from it, when you were asking what kind of reactions, what were am I getting from the book, from younger people in their 20s and 30s, they're just all about the AI. They really want to know
Right.
about how AI analyzed my life and what came out of it. So that's the part of the process that they're most interested in.
And they're so hell bent on that. Um, do you think I think I think of all the generations affected by AI, the Gen Zs and millennials, I think yes, they're hopeful, but I think they also worry because it's
Oh, I'm sure they're worried. I know they're worried.
yeah, they're truly. And listen,
Yes,
my son is worried. I mean, he's in television. My son's in television. He works for the spelling bee, and the AI is not going to take that away because you need to have the whole personal touch. But nevertheless, he worries, because
sure.
it's a changing world. Um, all right, the last, and I like this question, and I ask it of myself. Um, what would you want people to take away from the book?
From my book.
Yeah,
What I would really, my goal, my goal in anything that I choose to do, because Calvin, as you well know, we have finite heartbeats, right?
right.
And when there are infinite possibilities in how we can spend those heartbeats. So one of my levels of success measures that I have, what I want people to take away from the book is I want them to read what similar situations I was in that they have. I mean, everybody goes through difficult times. They go through divorces. They go through, I bet you haven't been divorced.
Yeah, actually, I was.
Were you? Were
Okay.
you?
Yeah, yeah. But
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
sure, sure.
Almost everybody has
Everybody
anymore.
has. Everybody.
Yeah, so divorces, difficult times on jobs, also the personal aspects of really understanding who we are individually and making sure that we are living an authentic life. And the impact, my success measure is the impact that I can have on other people. And that it in the end is what I chose to put in the book is how can every decision was about every prompt was about, okay, how is this going to improve somebody else's life?
And that was your thought as you're prompting how to improve. Wow. It's in you're true to your words. Because in doing my due diligence and reading up about you, and if I was a screenplay guy, I think I'd want to want a screenplay of your life.
Oh,
But yeah, no, I'm serious. Hey, we don't. I'm just think I'm a regular guy. I go to Rutgers football games, basketball games. But I'm doing some interesting stuff, but I don't see it that way. You're uh, and I love this. You're very much involved in mentoring.
yes,
And if you want to just say a couple of words about this mentor project that you're involved with. Um,
sure. I have been mentoring people since for as long as I can remember in some form or fashion. So, the Mentor Project I got involved with, it's an organization out of Brooklyn, and they provide one-to-one mentoring with young people. And so I have had several young people that I've mentored in that project. I also, because I am a military veteran, I have a very strong affinity for helping military veterans. So I've founded something called the Veterans Fellowship Program, that where I make sure that they're provided with one-to-one mentors in a 6-month program. And so there's all kinds of ways that you can mentor. You can mentor, there's peer mentoring, there's lateral mentoring, there's youth mentoring. We can learn so much from young people who can mentor us. Heaven knows that's happening for me right now. I'm getting some really great insights from the young people that I work with.
Yeah. And I get some of the biggest thrills of my life when I mentor every school year. I mentor another student at Rutgers. I'd gone away from mentoring 14. It was a little too much, you know, but now it's one student. I'll pick up a student in October, and I'll go to next May. And that's pretty intense, and I love doing that. Sometimes they ask me to do two. And I love doing that. It's good for the soul.
It
It's
sure is.
it's great for the soul. It's funny. Literally my first journalism experience, and I had to create a video as I interviewed a Gold Star mother. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
she lost her son in Iraq,
Mm-hmm.
Michael Gonzalez. He was 18 or 19, and he died in Iraq. And she Ida Gonzalez went on to form this little support group called Butterfly Circle of Friends, and it's a support group for Gold Star mothers, families, and she gave a chunk of her life to that, and it's hard to even put in words, her experiences. But long story, we became great friends, and I used to go to these dinner dances every year and to support, and a lot of her son's company were there.
Mm-hmm.
They would come, and it was so special, and it was a new world for me because I didn't have a military, even though I came out of quote the Vietnam era. I didn't have the military thing. And spiritually, I was able to provide her with one of the most haunting spiritual things. I'm not going to say it on air, but and she thanks me all the time because, as it turns out, one night and randomly a few years ago, I just needed to listen to a song called "Bang the Drum Slowly," and because it came from a movie that banged the drum slowly, and so 2 o'clock in the morning, I found the Emmylou Harris video
Mm-hmm.
of that she's singing that song, "Bang the Drum Slowly," and it's so strange, Mary. It's so strange. So here it is, 2 o'clock in the morning, and it's a beautiful. It's Memorial Day, and you see it's Arlington National Cemetery, and there's a funeral, and all these horses are pulling this casket, and there's some soldiers with music, instruments, and they're marching, and then there's all these different little vignettes of people who are mourning loved ones at Arlington and Vietnam War Memorial, and I watched it till after 4 in the morning. I just sat and kept watching it, and it just moved me so much. And I was drawn to this one particular soldier kneeling at the grave of a comrade, and it moved me. He was in full uniform, and he was on one knee, and he was kneeling at this one grave, and you could see the grave name, but I didn't pay any attention. But after 2 hours of watching it, I leaned closer. I leaned closer, and I had the epiphany, and I realized that the grave he was kneeling at was Ida's son, Michael Gonzalez.
Isn't that something?
Beyond, beyond. And I wrote Ida immediately. I said in the strangest way, I just found Michael in a music video from Emmylou
Oh,
Harris, and she didn't know it. And I sent that to her, and she wrote me back the next morning. I mean, she was old. I mean, I know she was teary, but she was teary, and said, "Yeah, Calvin, Michael was channeling through you to get to me." Uh, and she wrote me back at 11:11 in the morning, and that's a powerful time uh,
Yes, it is.
spiritually. So the whole
Hmm.
thing, it's life is so interesting. Um, just to kind of wrap up, tell me about you won this. I think it's great. The U.S. President's Lifetime Achievement Award for philanthropy and volunteerism. I mean, that's just great stuff. Um, who gave that to you?
Well, there were two people. It was George W. Bush
That's
and also Robert Cole, who was the um, chairman of the National Endowment for the Humanities.
um,
He was the one that nominated me.
um,
And so I went to the White House and accepted the award. It was just a absolutely fabulous experience. And it comes from a lifetime of being committed to helping others. And I call myself a civic enthusiast
yes, I saw that.
um, because I'm very, very committed to helping people in the community and helping people as Americans. And I've dedicated a large part of my life to, and my work life to those types of, like going back to what I was saying, my measure of success is how many people can I impact positively. And so that award was a reflection of, the work that I not only I did, but other people who have received the award. It's just a wonderful, it was a great pinnacle moment.
So wonderful. It's when I was reading that, I said, my goodness, and I'm going to be talking to her. You know, it's a wow. Um, there's a saying. Now, I'm not sure where it comes from. It might even come from the Quran or the Bible. And it made me, when now meeting you, I think of that. Here's the saying, he or she who saves a life saves the world.
Yeah.
And that's a great way to do a wrap of this amazing time with you, Mary. Um,
Thank you very much, Calvin, for having me on.
yeah, no, and thank you for finding me. It was just instant, instant chemistry, instant respect, instant awe of you. And so it's a great way to end. And come back. I sit in this chair 12 hours a day. Every day is the same. As I ascended the mountain of being a senior citizen, I observed that Monday is the same as Sunday. It's the same as Wednesday, and 9 in the morning is the same as 9 at night. It's all just one big happy thing. So
Yes.
do come back in any
Thank you.
shape, way, form. Do come back. I'm going to stop recording now. But this has been sumptuous.
Thank you, Calvin.
Yes, thank you, Mary. This has been great. So don't leave. I'm going to just stop recording.